Hey everybody, welcome to the Canadian Journalist, reporting November 10th, 2023. In today's story, is it self-defense when you break into someone's home? We were talking about this the other day, or I was, about who's occupying who. You can even look it up on, propaganda Wikipedia, and they'll give you a list of what the occupying countries. But what it forgets to mention is the U.S. is occupying Syria. The U.S. says that it launched a self-defense strike in Syria. A statement from the Pentagon said that the precision self-defense strike is a response to a series of attacks against U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria by IRGC Quad Force affiliates. The U.S. is currently illegally occupying Syria. Syria has appealed to the United Nations for help in expelling the occupiers, but to no avail. The Pentagon says that they are attacking to protect U.S. personnel in that region. Another way to protect them would be to get out of there. The irony, guys, off topic, the irony sidebar is so ridiculous here. Oh, we need to occupy your country to protect U.S. personnel in your country, in your region. The U.S. says that it, quote, will continue to conduct counter-ISIS missions in Iraq and Syria, end quote. Oh, wow. The U.S. supported and funded al-Qaeda counterpart al-Nusra in Syria. And here we are on the U.S. Department of Defense, defense.gov. Today, at President Biden's direction, oh yeah, I'm sure his direction, he's like the puppet, old man puppet in front of the direction. U.S. military forces conducted a self-defense strike on a facility in eastern Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and affiliated groups. This strike was conducted by 2 U.S. F-15s against the weapons storage facility. This precision self-defense strike, it's this self-defense strike. It's so ridiculous. This precision attack is a response to a series of attacks against U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria by the IRGC Quad Force affiliates. The president has no higher priority than the safety of U.S. personnel, and he directed today's action to make clear that the United States will defend itself, its personnel, and its interests. The United States is fully prepared to take further necessary measures to protect our people and our facilities. We urge against any escalation. U.S. personnel will continue to conduct counter-ISIS missions in Iraq and Syria. And here's another story on defense.gov related. On November 9th, defense officials said U.S. won't hesitate to defend its troops in Middle East. It goes on to read, over the last 3 weeks, Iran-backed militia groups have attacked U.S. bases and facilities in Iraq and Syria 41 times. The U.S. has defended itself against those attacks and will continue to do so, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East said. So you got to break it down. The U.S. is illegally occupying Syria. Syria has asked the UN for help to expel the U.S. These guys are occupying our country. And so Syria is going to make attacks against the U.S., who is in their country, a face of war. It's like, get out of our country. So they're attacking their bases. And then the U.S. says, well, in self-defense, we're going to then attack them. But the U.S. is occupying their country. It's so ironic because you break it down to what people read and follow in the news with, Iraq, or not even Iraq, sorry, in Ukraine. And they're like, take up their Ukraine flags on their bicycles on Vancouver Island. But they don't even know what they're pushing or propagating. It's an endless war. It's war is peace. Peace is war. It's the perpetual war, the military-industrial complex. That's all they're virtue signaling. They're actually by virtue signaling the flag of Ukraine to continue the war, to not have peace talks, which the U.S. has been stopping all along. It's just putting more people into the meat grinder and more people running from the meat grinder. And then now there's no, your Democratic leader that you guys are all praising, Zelensky, dancing in stilettos, comedian, actor, puppet president of Ukraine, now has canceled the March elections. We're in wartime. We can't have elections. You can't have any disagreement. He's also eliminated any opposition party to him for any future elections, and he's probably going to cancel the next elections. Virtue signalers are ridiculous. I found an interesting article, goes way back to August 2022. Why does the US still have forces in Syria? And of course, it goes back to 2014 at least, in relation to their occupying and taking over of Iraq. In September 2014, a US-led coalition launched air raids against ISIL in Syria as part of a campaign it was already conducting in Iraq. The U.S. contributes approximately 2,000 soldiers to the coalition, and in October of 2015 supported the creation of the Syrian Democratic Forces. I'm sure that's democratic. A group largely made up of the Kurdish People's Protection Unit, the YPG militia. So, has the U.S. attacked the Syrian government? Despite President Barack Obama talk of a red line should the al-Assad government use chemical weapons in Syria, it was only under President Donald Trump that the first direct attacks against the Syrian government were conducted. After a chemical attack killed 88 people in Idlib province, the U.S. forces fired cruise missiles in April of 2017 at a base believed to have been where the chemical attack was launched from. A U.S.-led attack was also launched in April 2018 after a chemical attack in the opposition-held town of Duama. Now, has there been any pushback against the U.S. role in Syria? The Syrian government has constantly expressed its opposition to the U.S. role in Syria and demanded U.S. forces withdraw. Al-Assad's main backer, Russia, has also called for the U.S. to leave. Turkey has also made it clear its opposition to U.S. support for the YPG. Ankara considers the YPG to be a Syrian branch of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, a designated terrorist, quote, group in Turkey and the U.S. and the European Union. Next question. Why are U.S. forces currently located in Syria? Some U.S. forces are still located in the SDF-controlled areas of northeastern Syria, such as Haskell and Raqqa provinces. Since 2016, the U.S. has also controlled Al-Tanf base in a remote area of Syria, near where the borders of Syria, Jordan, and Iraq meet. The U.S. presence in the base was agreed upon with Russia and is part of the 55-kilometer deconfliction zone, which U.S. and allied forces patrol. Russia has since called on the U.S. to withdraw from Al-Tanf. There are still approximately 900 U.S. soldiers in Syria. This is in, of course, 2022. And here's onto the meats of it. What are the U.S.'s main goals in Syria? Speaking last year, Brett McGurk, the White House coordinator for the Middle East and North Africa, said the U.S. had 4 main objectives in Syria: to reduce violence, maintain military pressure on ISIL. That reduce violence part's hilarious. By inflicting violence, we're going to reduce violence. Address Syria's humanitarian crisis, and here's the kicker: to support Israel. There's the connection to today, guys. To support, we need to occupy Syria to support Israel. Anyways, we'll end that story there, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Canadian Journalist.